We're live on X. We're live on Rockfin, or not Rockfin yet, but Rumble, YouTube, Facebook. Let's see. Instagram, live on Instagram for however long till it kicks us off. Live on Rockfin, live on all the platforms. Make sure that everything's up and running before something freezes, and then I got to reboot everything. Just want to make sure that's the case before having to start over because of some sort of technical glitch, as per usual. Okay. Good morning. Good morning to everyone on this 16th of December, 2024, 9 days before the Christmas holiday begins. That's right, I said begins because that is, in fact, when Christmas begins. Because people forget that December 25th is just the first day of Christmas, the first of 12 days, actually. Santa's supposed to be squeezing his fat white ass down your chimney every night until January 5th, 2025, okay? And anybody who tells you otherwise is probably someone trying to convince you that because it's 8 days long, that Hanukkah's a better holiday. It's not. It's not even close. We get 12 days for Christmas. Sorry, Hanukkah celebrators. Not going to win this one. And I hope everybody embraces the other 11 days of Christmas instead of trying to cram it all into one day, all right? No need to rush it. We got 11 extra days. With that said, let's dive into this show where I'm going to talk about something that I've been trying to not talk about, these drones. I want to tell you guys before, and you know I never do this if you listen to the show. I hate doing this, actually, but it is the holidays, so I'm going to. If you want to help support the show, if you want to help the show continue existing, then you can make a one-time donation at paypal.me/Brad Binkley, or you can make an ongoing monthly donation by subscribing to the Propaganda Report Patreon page at patreon.com/Propaganda Report, where you will get the audio version of every show delivered ad-free right to the podcast app that you listen on via the private RSS feed you will receive. I take out all of the ads for subscribers. Those ongoing donations are really what helps sustain the show the best. Another way, if you're not a patron, is if you're listening on audio in your app, let the ads play through when you listen. We don't get anything if you skip the ads, so it helps us a ton if you allow them to play through. You can also leave a 5-star review and a comment that warms my heart. It helps me immensely. It truly does when you guys say very kind things, and I do appreciate all of the kind words you guys have said to me. And I'm grateful for all the people that I've met since I've begun doing this show, and it's been pretty cool getting to meet people all across the country and the world, actually. So I'm looking forward to even more of that moving on to the next year. You can find all the links to the ways to help out the show below and to the right of my profile picture on my X page in the bio section. All right, now let's dive in. Let's get going. Are we live everywhere? Yeah, we are. All right. So, show title, Drone Theories You Haven't Heard, Why Trump's ABC News Settlement is Bad, and Felonious Dipping Sauce. Beginning with that story that I've been avoiding talking about for a very long time. Let me make sure my audio here is up. I think so. All right, so I haven't wanted to talk about this drone over New Jersey story, because of how ridiculous it is. But I've decided today to cover it, hopefully only for today, because while we've heard a lot of possible explanations as to what's going on up there, I'm going to give you a couple that no one is talking about. I haven't even heard anyone mention, one of which, in my opinion, is as likely to be what's really going on as any other explanation that I have heard, which is the possibility that our government is conducting a DARPA research-based cognitive electronic warfare training simulation with those drones. I'll get to that, just as I will get to another plausible but less likely explanation for those drones, which is that these drones are part of a government brain-computer interface thought-controlled drone experiment, which sounds crazy, but is something our government has been researching for years. I'm going to show you all of that. I'm going to show you information that shows that these are not crazy explanations. They're just not talked about. But first, because it's relevant and it leads to these explanations, I'm going to go through a quick review of the possible explanations for what's going on that we've been told about these drones, that we've been given by the mainstream media, by members of Congress, and that we ourselves have speculated on across various social media outlets. So here's a non-inclusive list of the many explanations that have been thrown around about what the origins of these drones are. There's been speculation that they're manned aircrafts mistaken for drones, that they're Chinese, Russian drones. And check my mic real quick. All right. Yeah. So to make sure that my mic was connected to the right one. Speculation that they're manned aircrafts mistaken for drones, that they're Chinese or Russian drones, that they're Iranian drones deployed from a sea-based mothership. That's an actual explanation. That they're Secret Service drones that are just keeping a close watch on Trump's Bedminster property. Actual real explanation that's floated around. That they're United States military drones conducting secret operations. That's kind of where I lean. That they're private contractor drones built by companies trying to show off what their new tech can do in hopes of winning a government contract, like a Lockheed Martin type of company. It's been speculated that they're actual outer space, otherworldly alien drones. And finally, that they're part of the global elite's plan to usher in the totalitarian world government that they're always circle jerking about at Davos, using a fake alien invasion to carry out what's known as Project Bluebeam. That explanation, honestly, is as likely as any of the others until it became such a discussed explanation, I think. I don't think they can roll out a Project Bluebeam with so many people openly talking about how it could be a Project Bluebeam. But who knows? Who actually knows what's going on? I'll tell you this, though. One thing we can be certain of is that they're not telling us the truth about what they know. There might be kernels of truth in there, but they're certainly not being open and transparent about this stuff. And what I want to show you first, as we lead up to the explanations that I gave you that sound crazy but won't when I show you what I'm going to show you, because this stuff is relevant, is I want to show you a clip that you probably have not seen in any of the news reports on these drones. Let me get this set up here. I'd be very surprised if anybody watching has seen this clip. Where is it? Maybe I can't. Maybe I haven't seen it because I don't know where it is. All right, there it is. Now, if you're in the chats, let me know you can hear me and I'm not just talking mute. Because I've done that before. I've actually done a show where I did 10 minutes to open the show. Totally killed it. Killed it better than I ever had before, only to see in the chats that something was wrong with my mic and I was mute the whole time. So, you know how that goes. Okay. Check this clip out.
At 5, it is groundbreaking work right in our own backyard. Channel 2 Action News partnered with police, firefighters, and the FAA to do this, fly drones over breaking news. Channel 2's Tony Thomas reports from Tequila. This drill could have national impact.
So here's the scenario. Gwinnett County Fire arrives on a house fire. There are victims trapped inside. Soon, drone operators and their machines arrive. Now, currently, there are no firm rules on how police, fire, and the operators communicate and regulate themselves. This test designed to hopefully help set regulations nationwide.
Interesting. No firm rules on the use of these drones for these emergency type situations, hoping to help set some rules.
A FAA representative along with Georgia Tech researchers were on hand as 2 drones from the News Drone 2 fleet and News Chopper 2 hovered over firefighters battling the fire.
I know this is groundbreaking for us here in Gwinnett County, the first time we've had drones on an emergency scene, and we know we'll see more of that in the future.
Researchers wanted to know how well the firefighters and media could communicate, and if the drones could operate safely in close quarters with ladder trucks, helicopters, and each other.
I think it went great.
Channel 2 meteorologist Brad Nitz and his team have spent more than a year getting to this point.
The exercise today is to see what needs to be done differently, if anything. Figure that out now as opposed to figuring it out at a live fire.
News Drone 2 can provide unique angles to an emergency scene, not only to viewers, but the first responders too. Through a screen, the live video gave firefighters a first-hand look at the structure from above.
That gave me a great view of the overview, so I could see the roof collapse and the fire coming through the roof.
Currently, drones are heavily regulated on where they can fly and when. Our special FAA exemption allows us to fly in certain situations. Everything gathered at the scene will be put together into a report written by Georgia Tech researchers and given to the FAA. In Gwinnett County, Tony Thomas, Channel 2 Action News.
All right, in Gwinnett County, a drone experiment with Georgia Tech and emergency services, police, fire department, where the data is going to be collected and it's going to be given to the FAA so that they can use that data to help formulate rules about this type of thing that, governments can use across the country to regulate their drone usage. This video is from 2016. This is 8 years ago. Sounds kind of similar to some of the things we're hearing, especially in the calls for regulation. So it looks like X, we're losing X. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I just got, I think X might have just got booted on the stream. But the need for rules, the experimentation, the collaboration with the FAA, all things that we've heard echoed by government officials, and we've heard people like Chuck Schumer and others say we need more regulations, more working with the FAA. Yeah, this was in 2016. The only reason I'm even aware of this clip is because we were on the radio at the time, and strangely enough, this is actually a WSB report, TV report that I found, but we played this clip on WSB radio because I found it after a number of times I had gone to my parents' house in Gwinnett County, Georgia, where this experiment was going on. And I'd gone outside at night, and for a period of months, I would look up and I would see, at minimum, 2 drones just hovering. Strangely, usually 3 or 4. At least that's what it looked like anyway. To the point of, at first, it was like, oh my gosh, maybe this is some alien weird stuff that other people say they see, but I've never seen. Then quickly to realize, oh, that's not an airplane. That's definitely a drone. And that led me to searching, why are drones over my neighborhood in Gwinnett County, which led to a number of stories about this and this Georgia Tech experiment. And it, like I said, is not that much unlike what we're seeing in New Jersey. The difference is that the media is covering it. The one in New Jersey. This got local media coverage, not national media coverage. It took search, yet you had to search for this specifically to find it, to get any attention on it. The media does this thing where they make something that's not out of the ordinary appear to be out of the ordinary by suddenly covering something that's actually been going on for a long time, as though it's never happened before. Drones over locations, wherever, anywhere in the country, without explanation, have been going on for a very long time. I mean, this is just one example of this. Sure, people are saying they see more drones, or maybe their clock stopped when they drove underneath it, but when you have this much attention on it, and you have people talking about it, making it seem so rare, then that's going to bring in the people who are going to link things that might not be linked to it. Oh, maybe your battery on your car dies and it messes up the clock. Oh my gosh, it was because I drove under the drones. I'm not saying that something weird like the X-Files thing that Mulder says we lost 9 minutes doesn't actually happen. But what I'm saying is it increases the likelihood of these explanations that might have other explanations that people don't consider because of the news coverage of it and politicians in D.C. talking about it as though they're afraid and they don't know what's going on. As though it's such a rare freaking thing. It's not. So that's kind of the lens I look through these stories with. I get caught up in the hype of them too sometimes, but I always try and ask the question of how out of the ordinary is this thing that they're telling me is so out of the ordinary? And then I go do research to see if those things have occurred in the past and how often, which has it's gotten a lot harder to do that on Google, because Google basically sucks now as a search engine. Used to be pretty good. But there's another story today that it falls into this same category of something that is being overly hyped by a government official as something that is a direct result of a consequence of these drones. That's not actually rare at all. And that is the story here about the governor of New York, Hochul, I can't remember her first name, how she's freaking out, demanding that the Biden administration give federal law enforcement support to the region in New York to ensure the safety of their critical infrastructure and of their people after Stewart International Airport in New York was shut down this past Friday following a report from the FAA about a drone sighting at the airport. Oh my gosh, they've gotten so crazy that they're shutting down airports now. Except airports have been shut down many, many times because of drones over the past 10 years. Probably more if you go back even further. A few examples. In 2019, the Newark International Airport shut down briefly after a drone was spotted in the skies above the airport. In 2022, flight operations were halted at the Reagan Washington National Airport just outside of D.C. due to a drone sighting. In 2023, an unauthorized drone caused a 30-minute ground stop at a Pittsburgh International Airport. From April of 2021 to June 30th of that same year, there were over 400 drone sightings in airport spaces across the country. And this isn't even talking about internationally. In fact, an FBI press release on an investigation into a sighting near Charlotte Douglas Airport, it concluded their press release by saying this: as we get closer to Christmas, drones will be given and received as gifts. We encourage the public to abide by federal and state laws. I'm not saying that this hype is because of that, but it's interesting that the FBI 4 years ago, when they were talking about this, made mention of, well, Christmas time, drone hype, make sure you're following the laws if you're buying them as gifts. And because this is in the news, people are going to probably be buying drone gifts for people, which the government might end up, rounding you up if you take it into the wrong place. At one of Trump's rallies after the assassination attempt story, it was when he came to Fulton County, Georgia, and spoke at Georgia State. Me and Zach of Liberty Libations were walking down the street talking to people, and what looked like a consumer drone, maybe, I'm not even sure, just kind of zoomed right over the top of everybody's head. And I was just kind of like, I don't know if that should be there. Like, I'm a little surprised it wasn't taken down unless it was one of theirs. Maybe it was one of theirs. But it was very close. You could have hit it with a baseball, with it as close as it was. Nobody was screaming UFO, UAP. December 17th, 2007 in Turnbull, Connecticut, the first of the events to me seeing one of those things, says ex-con. So that's the first event you've heard dating back of drones in the skies. Now, of course, there's a possibility of these drones being something that have been around for quite some time that could have some strange origin that it's just taken them this long to get to it. I believe UFOs and aliens exist. I just don't believe that this is what that is, because I don't think they would tell us. Definitely not in this way. Rom Ulix says the only way to determine what is going on with drones is to have Jim Cramer make a statement. That's right. Jim Cramer says it. It's the opposite. Definitely. He's got a great track record for badly picking stocks. The FBI and the DOJ, actually, hold on a second. I think I got the wrong part here. I'm going to show you. So, hold on. All right. I am going to get to the theories that I have. But I first want to tell you what the official government position is, because it's hard to tell. We have different Congress people coming out and saying different things to different news networks for whatever agenda. I don't believe any of them. I believe zero of them. But we did get an official statement from Alexander Mayorkas, the propagandist, warmonger. Was he Secretary of State? What's his position again? I can't remember. I get him confused. But he gave a position, and the Department of Justice and the FBI released a joint statement yesterday. And I'm going to give you a couple clips from what Mayorkas said. Mayorkas, who looks like every spy you've ever seen in every one of those videos, not from Vice, but I can't remember where it is, where it's like an interview with a former CIA spy. And they all have completely bald heads because they have to disguise themselves. That's what all these guys look like. Here is him talking to ABC News about the government's official position, talking to George Stephanopoulos, who we both know is, we know Stephanopoulos and Mayorkas are both full of it. We know they're both liars. So a starting position is that both of these guys are, at best, giving us kernels of truth to direct us to believe something they want us to believe, and definitely not ever telling us the full truth, because they don't ever do that. Their standard, their default is to lie, either by omission or directly. That's how I watch all these things. But here he is, one liar telling another what the official government position is on the drones. Here's that jackass right there. Well, I didn't even put it in there. You know, I had the setup ready, and then I didn't even have the clip up there for you guys to see. Here we go. Get rid of that. All right, hold on one second. Here he is right here. Alexander Mayorkas with George Stephanopoulos, who's 5'1" and weighs 65 pounds.
Let me set the record straight here, George. There are thousands of drones flown every day in the United States. Recreational drones, commercial drones. That is the reality. And in September of 2023, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, changed the rules so that drones could fly at night. And that may be one of the reasons why now people are seeing more drones than they did before, especially from dawn to dusk. And so that is the reality.
Look at this guy's eyebrows.
But I want to assure the American public that we are on it. We are working in close coordination with state and local authorities. And it is critical, as we all have said for a number of years, that we need from Congress additional authorities to address the drone situation. Our authorities currently are limited, and they are set to expire. We need them extended and expanded.
What exactly do you need?
They need the federal drone authorities, the FAA. They need the federal powers extended and expanded. That's an obvious thing that they always want. That has been part of this narrative. All the government officials, the people in Congress who've been talking about this, they might have different takes on what it is, or they might be making different demands, but they all agree that let's give the federal government expanded power over what the states can do when it comes to drones. Let's give them those rules that the 2016 experiment with Georgia Tech, that they were saying that they were trying to put into place for the FAA as a structure moving forward. They're always looking to tighten up more rules. Mayorkas looks like somebody put on crooked eyebrows on Mr. Potato Head here. One of them's like 1.5 feet, it looks like, above the other one, the one on the right side, then the left side. He emphasizes multiple times. I'm not going to play the whole interview, but he continues to reinforce we need expanded federal regulation over these drones. And here is where he elaborates that on a bit. I believe that's what this clip is. And I think he might give an example. I guess we'll find out.
We are aware of the drone sightings, as I've said. I think there are more than 8,000 drones flown every day in the United States. With respect to the ability to incapacitate those drones, we are limited in our authorities. We have certain agencies within the Department of Homeland Security that can do that, and outside our department. But we need.
What are those certain agencies that can do that? They always speak vaguely when they do these interviews. They could clarify things. Stephanopoulos could follow up with a question. Could you clarify that very vague thing about we have agencies and departments that we're not going to tell you about who can do these things, but we still need more power to do these things so it doesn't just have to be those agencies. No follow-up question there. Bad Christian, that's exactly what I'm thinking. Bad Christian says, I don't understand how they can say we don't know who they are, but we know that they aren't foreign. And they also say, to add on to that they know they're not dangerous. If they truly don't know any of that, then how could they know they're not dangerous? I think it's because what Mayorkas is trying to say, from their perspective, is a little bit different here. I'll let him continue.
Need those authorities expanded as well.
All right, that's the end of that. This clip, by the way, remember the guy a couple weeks ago who got arrested? He's like a 72-year-old guy in Florida. It's always in Florida. For shooting at a Walmart delivery drone because he said that he thought he was being surveilled, which I'm sure he is. But they arrested him because he hit the drone. Apparently caused like $2,500 worth of damage onto this Walmart. Who knew Walmart had delivery drones, by the way? They said in the story that the Walmart drivers that were operating the drone like freaked out and drove away when they heard the gunshot. And then the drone just flew back over to Walmart. It was damaged, $2,500 worth of damage from one shot from a 9mm from the 72-year-old. And yet it was still capable of flying itself back like a wounded bird to Walmart. They arrest the dude, and the dude is charged with discharging a firearm in public, which is a misdemeanor, but he was also charged with criminal mischief, which is a third-degree felony. So he doesn't have the right to shoot a drone that he might fear is intruding on his space or causing some sort of threat to him. They are trying to establish these laws that tells, under the authority of the FAA and the federal government, what state and local governments they can shoot down based on these reasons, but the public cannot. I can't see any circumstance where you're going to be allowed to shoot down a drone. That's interesting where that's going to go. Drones can carry weapons. They can carry bombs. They can carry guns. What if something that is like a Molotov cocktail is being flown over your property? You're just supposed to stand there and let it blow your house up? Otherwise, you get charged with criminal mischief, a third-degree felony for shooting down a Molotov cocktail? They want to lay out all of the reasons why they can shoot stuff down anytime they want, regardless of what it is. All right, so here he's asked again, Americans have nothing to worry about. And he gives the type of answer he always gives, which is a very slippery one, but also a very revealing one.
Look, it is our job to be vigilant in the federal government with our state and local partners on behalf of the American public, and we can assure their safety by reason of that vigilance. We've deployed personnel.
What does that mean? They can assure, do Americans have anything to worry about? And his answer is, our job is to keep Americans safe and protect them by way of our vigilance. What does that mean? How about some specifics? How about some follow-up, Stephanopoulos?
Now, technology, and if there is any reason for concern, if we identify for the American public, and we can assure their safety by reason of that vigilance. We've deployed personnel, technology, and if there is any reason for concern, if we identify any foreign involvement or criminal activity, we will communicate with the American public accordingly. Right now, we are not aware of any. If we become aware of any, we will communicate accordingly and take appropriate action.
They'll communicate accordingly. So we can trust that they'll tell us if there is actually. No, they wouldn't do that. We can't. Nobody believes any of that. That's not a real answer. What he says here in a clip that I didn't play is they didn't see any drones over airspace that they weren't supposed to be over. So that they looked into anyway. So he kind of like weaselly narrows what he's talking about to make it sound like it's relevant to everything that people are seeing. And to give a little bit more clarity, here is what I'll read to you some of the official statement from the DOJ. Oh, shoot, hold on. From the Department of Justice and I think the FBI. Which says, get rid of that. Which says in part, historically, we have experienced cases of mistaken identity, where reported drones are in fact manned aircrafts or facilities. But they're facilities? That's what it says on the DOJ's page. We've mistaken drone. We thought it was a drone. It's actually just a facility. It's a building we thought was flying. Okay. Then it says, we're supporting local law enforcement in New Jersey with numerous detection methods, but have not corroborated any of the reported visual sightings with electronic detection. Now remember that term, because that's getting to where cognitive electronic warfare training that I'm going to be talking about in a minute. They haven't corroborated any of them with electronic detection. To the contrary, they say, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft. Again, they reiterate that. And they're being operated lawfully. There are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. While there is no known malicious activity occurring in New Jersey, how could they know? I guess because nothing is in restricted airspace, so that must be their definition of malicious, is it being where it's not supposed to be. They say they do, however, highlight the insufficiency of the current authorities, and then they say we need more power for the FAA and the federal government. A couple questions come to mind from that official position. That's the official position of the government, which is just focusing on restricted airspace and how their detection technology, their electronic detection technology, has not corroborated anything that people have seen with their eyes and heard with their ears. That has been reported across multiple networks, speculated about on social media, and talked about with fear by congressmen and women and governors of New York, New Jersey, who are saying the government's full of it, and yet they all demand the same, more federal power. But the questions that come to mind about these detection methods, the first one that comes to mind for me is, what are the numerous detection methods that you have used that have failed to corroborate what people have seen with their eyes? Stephanopoulos didn't ask that question. I couldn't find anywhere where somebody has asked that question, because there was a press conference. Kirby was doing the press conference yesterday. He said the exact same thing Mayorkas said, the exact same thing that the DOJ said in this statement, verbatim. Nobody followed up with hey, what the hell are those electronic detection devices or technique? Nobody asked that question. Like the most important question, could you explain that? Nobody brings up. Except Schumer did reveal a little bit not about what they're using that hasn't cooperated, but what he's requesting that they use now and they grant the states to use in the future, which is very interesting. Tell me, after hearing what he says here, if you'd be comfortable with this type of technology everywhere that is there under the guise of trying to detect drone activity that is illegal or criminal. So can you see that? There he is. All right. There's old Chucky Schumer, the funny Schumer.
Joining New York Governor Kathy Hochul, demanding more federal resources.
We're asking the DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, to deploy special detection systems like the Robin, which use not a linear line of sight, but 360-degree technology that has a much better chance of detecting these drones. And we're asking DHS to bring them to the New York, New Jersey area.
The Robin radar system requested by Senator Schumer is a 3D drone radar with 360-degree coverage that can spot drones day or night. They can spot them at speeds up to 60 miles per hour. The radar systems can be deployed in as little as 15 minutes and can be mounted on buildings or cars.
Detects and tracks rogue drones carrying improvised explosive devices and unauthorized drones surveilling mobile forces.
Back on Capitol Hill, Congressman Jim Hines of Connecticut, one of the states where drones have been spotted, doubling down that these drones are not foreign adversaries.
360-degree technology, day or night, can see things going 60 miles an hour, can be mounted on buildings or cars, and I'm sure that the only thing it detects is illegal drone activity. Nothing else. Those cameras can see nothing else about what anybody else is doing at night, going 60 miles an hour or less with 360-degree cams. There's probably a lot more that technology can do, but Schumer just had that right at his fingertips. Well, we have these drones. Probably you better give us these cameras that can see everything, no matter how fast it might be going. It's 60 miles an hour. Maybe the drones, if they're going faster than that, but people walking around aren't going to be going faster than 60 miles an hour. Maybe in their car, of course, but not in the street. Imagine everything that one of these cameras on a building would be able to pick up. You think all that stuff's going to be ignored? I don't know. It's just the way they slip this type of technology in for these requests, which I'm sure they'll get them, doesn't get much scrutiny. And I want to take it a step back for a second. Mayorkas said to Stephanopoulos that part of the reason we're seeing more drones at night is because in 2023, the FAA changed regulations or something. They adjusted them to allow for drones to fly at night. I can assure you that as far back as 2016, the FAA was experimenting with allowing these drones at night because I saw the ones over my parents' house in Gwinnett County that I played the original clip from. So they have been working on formulating this stuff for a very, very long time. Very, very long time. They have they play the long game with a lot of this stuff. And next question that came to my mind from the official government statement is I would like for them to elaborate on the statement that most of these are manned aircrafts being legally operated. Who is manning these aircrafts? Military? Was it a Delta flight to Jersey? Well, how do you put a statement out there like that? Oh, most of them are manned aircrafts. You idiots. How about you give us an interview with somebody manning one of those aircrafts? It's this stuff that they just put out there to confuse people with no further elaboration or details. They don't give information. That's why, this is a PSYOP. They could tell you what was going on because they know what was going on. They don't want people to know what's going on. Because then we wouldn't be all preoccupied with that and Luigi and where's the e-bike? Somebody show me Luigi's e-bike that just got forgotten in that stupid story. I don't know which one of these is PSYOP of the year, honestly. But this UAP, which all of this drone stuff is related to, this PSYOP began back in 2017 when Tucker Carlson started reporting on the otherworldly crafts that were being stored in a warehouse somewhere in Las Vegas, is what he said. I remember the story, that had properties that no one had ever seen on Earth and was causing people to get sick. So that's when this whole thing that we're kind of reaching a fever pitch with this UAP drone shit, that's when it really began. That's when aliens, which I love that subject, became no longer any fun, when the mainstream establishment media took all the fun out of it. Now, that detection device that Mayorkas and the DOJ was talking about, not what Schumer's talking about here, because Schumer was requesting this. This is a different type of detection device. What's considered this electronic detection device? As I said, nobody answers that question. I did find a... Hold on. Speaking of which, before going into that, isn't that kind of arrogant the way they say that? The implications of, well, you know, the electronic detection devices couldn't corroborate anything all of these people saw. So it's the implication that that humans are either lying or they're just flawed, while their technology neither lies nor is flawed. So this is what we will trust, while we will ignore everything else. It's kind of like the voting machines are better than hand-counted ballots. Like what is that? Like these machines can't be hacked, which clearly I'm going to show you that they can in a second, these detection devices. But this idea that if our electronic detection devices do not market, then it didn't happen. Okay. Those electronic detection devices, which the information I was able to find out on those was from this AirSight, which is a website that's a leader in drone detection technology. And the tech that they say are the top two drone detection devices to determine where the drones are from, if they're adversarial, whatever, if they use radio frequency technology or radar technology. Some of you guys probably knew that. Now, how it works, and you guys probably know more about this than me, but the RF technology, because it's relevant here in a second, that drone detection technology uses radio frequency sensors that passively listens and monitors certain frequencies for transmission of the communication link between the drone and the pilot to determine the location of the drone and sometimes the pilot's location. And those frequencies are important for the detection technology to be able to do that. And the detection using the radar uses high-resolution radars that are designed for drone detection and tracking. And what they do is they continuously scan the sky looking for reflections and changes to detect movement and size. And reflected signals can be compared to a database for drone characterization, and the stored signatures can be used to eliminate objects that are not drone-like, much like how radars are used to detect birds, which everybody knows aren't real. Those are drones, of course. And this signal processing greatly improves detection performance and allows for fewer false positives. So they're not perfect. Nothing's perfect. But with that in mind, with radar and RF frequency being the two most reliable drone detection technologies, and I'm going to get into my theories, and I don't know if these are the answer. These are just different theories that nobody's focusing on, that the government is investing heavily in researching and developing. Cognitive electronic warfare. An experiment with these drones, and more importantly, perhaps, with the latest RF frequency drone detecting technology that DARPA has been working on, attempting to detect these drones. An experiment in how good DARPA has developed this technology. This is from something called Avionics International. Let me take this off screen. Get that out of here. Avionics International. Let's show you guys that. What's up, Tony? AI chatbot better fix its editor. You talking about the news editor, AI chatbots? You can't tell half the time. I think people become their AI chatbots they rely on. All right, so this is from Avionics International, and the headline, or the headline here is, and this is older too, so they've been developing this for a few years. Cognitive electronic warfare, radio frequency spectrum meets machine learning. A look at the technologies that will power the aircraft of tomorrow. And I'll get you guys to the relevant parts here. All right, the trend towards digital programmable radio frequencies, RF equipment, epitomized by software-defined radio, means that radars can quickly change waveforms, creating unique signatures on the fly. In the increasingly congested and contested RF environment, hostile emitters become harder to locate, and they're talking about drones in this article. Harder to locate, harder to identify, harder to jam, and harder to confuse. Hence today's focus on machine learning applied to electronic EW, or cognitive electronic warfare. So right off the bat, and I found a number of articles that express this same sentiment about the reason for developing this technology. Congested airwaves. It seems like a lot of these sightings are congested with drones in one place. It would seem to be an environment that might be a challenge to differentiate between what the RF emitter from one potential drone or one unmanned or manned aircraft is emitting from the other, which is exactly the environment of war in the future. I mean, this article goes on, and many others, to talk about the ability of adversaries to mask and trick and make us think that, use cognitive electronic warfare to make us think that we're seeing this on a radar or detecting this from an RF signal, or like things that aren't there, and then not detecting things that are, because of the sophistication of it. I mean, I have a clip that I used to play. I couldn't find it. I think DARPA took it down, but I used to play this clip from a Georgia Tech lady giving a speech where she started off, it's only 4 minutes of it on there, where she said, everything I tell you, if I go any deeper, is super classified, and she makes a joke about you'd have to get rid of me or something. But what she talks about is how we can basically manipulate any radar or sensor of any foreign adversary into thinking that they see something on their radar screens that they don't actually see, and that they never see what's actually there. So we can hide ourselves with this new cognitive electronic warfare technology, which is exactly what this type of stuff sounds like to me. And this atmosphere of drones everywhere and chaos seems like a perfect training exercise that our government, this seems like the circumstances that would fit a training simulation. When or where else are they going to be able to do this? It's hard to train for drone detection, chaotic circumstances, without actually doing it. That doesn't mean it's 100%, but this is the type of stuff they do with these training simulations. The article goes on to say, improved spectrum awareness, one of the aims of the United States Defense Advanced Research Project Agency's DARPA, their RF machine learning systems program. The program will lay the groundwork for a new generation of RF systems that are goal-driven and can learn from the data. So these drones, or the stuff that they're talking about, is AI. It's doing it itself. And then it goes in another article, I think a little bit on this one here too, about the drones doing all that stuff themselves. Spectrum awareness is also important as more radios, communication systems, radars, jammers, and many other applications, including the Internet of Things devices, operate in the spectrum, and as hostile emitters become more clever at camouflaging their signatures to look like white force or neutral emitters. This is a cognitive electronic warfare that the DARPA chick from Georgia Tech was talking about. So we know that if we can do it, that China can do it, and somebody actually linked an article underneath a post I made last night about how we're pissed off and this is from 2021, this article, that China is using technology that we gave them to enable their soldiers to control drones with their thoughts, which we've been working on for many, many years as well. So we know that they have this technology, so it would make sense that we would prepare for their cognitive electronic warfare and our ability to detect it, and vice versa. So I could see us doing a dual training exercise of let's put all of our shape-shifting type of radar drones up here, and let's see how well our systems here are, our cognitive electronic warfare camouflage systems are, as well as how good our detection of this new advanced technology is on the ground. I think that's what's going on. Article then says, I think that's it. All right, so that's all I want to show you guys from that article. There's another one here from, this is like a published, I believe this is from like machine learning, avionics or something like that, which says a cognitive system is capable of real-time learning. It's thinking. It's asking itself, what should I be looking for? How should I respond? A cognitive system could change what it looks for, what it transmits based on its experience. Based on its experience. So you know how AI trains based on the more experience it gets, get scraping all of the information from the web. That's how it builds up its brain. Sounds like the same thing might be going on here, which could be part of the development of these AI drone systems, that these things are up there learning, becoming smarter. It's one way to put it. Maybe stupider, for all we know. Then it says a cognitive system could change what it looks for or what it transmits based on what it is experienced, as I said. Then it said you are looking at actual changing. The features that you're looking at to classify a signal based on what the system's learning. All right, blah, blah, blah. And then it talks about this plane called the Northrop Grumman, which they're using to develop some of this. And it says, under the U.S. Navy's Reactive Electronic Active Measures, REAM program, R-E-A-M program, if you guys want to check that out, Northrop is developing machine learning algorithms for that plane, the Growler, for their Airborne Electronic Attack Suite. They have an Airborne Electronic Attack Suite. It's very sweet. Targeted for fleet transition around 2025, the program would bolster EW capabilities against agile and adaptive, unknown or hostile radars. And that the work that they're doing with this is an unmanned vehicle swarm. So they're training this plane, and they're training their unmanned vehicle swarms, which are drones at the same time. And the code name for this unmanned air vehicle swarm concept is called Remedy. And these expandable drones, it says, deployed in canisters from the aircraft. Interesting. What about a mothership from Iran? They would function as close-in sensors and would provide more data for the cognitive stew. The lessons will then be applied to the Remedy unmanned drones. And the company is pursuing RF and infra. I know it's a lot of technical shit, but like, the whole purpose is this situational awareness shit. It's what they're doing. I'm telling you, this. Even if they don't really know what these things are, which they do, they would still be testing this new technology, which they commissioned DARPA to make like 5 years ago. This would be the perfect opportunity for them to test it in a real world, seemingly situation. There's no way they're not. And when you have Mayorkas saying that their electronic detection systems have not corroborated any of the things that people have seen with their own eyes, that could just mean that one or the other, the cognitive electronic warfare from the drones, is operating very well, and the new DARPA RF sensing technology is not working as good yet. Or that he's just lying. That's probably the more likely case. All right, I think that's all I wanted to show you for that. Okay, one more little technical quote here from Avionics journal. It says one of the potential transformative strategies in modern warfare is the application of swarm tactics, which involve the use of multiple autonomous units to perform coordinated tasks. Kind of what sounds like people have been describing. The concept was expertly addressed by this guy named Robert Wilkinson's presentation called Swarming Assets for Cognitive Electronic Warfare, which highlighted how these tactics can overwhelm enemy systems with a barrage of simultaneous threats. The integration of AI allows these swarms to operate with autonomous decision-making capabilities. Oh, great. Great. We don't even have to do anything. They just choose. And this significantly increases their effectiveness. Such systems can dynamically adjust their tactics based on real-time battlefield data, which these drones are getting, in a sense, effectively adapting to countermeasures like the detecting technology and exploiting vulnerabilities in the enemy's defense. Bad Christian says, my thoughts, they are blaming Iran to try and get us to... Yeah, I agree with that. Totally. They're just like, us Iran mothership, trust us type stuff. And then they have a couple Congress people to come in and say, Iran, China probably did it. And then they have people take the other perspective of, it's probably a UAP, just to keep pulling people back and forth and confused and not thinking maybe it's just us experimenting with stuff. What the hell is that? All right. So here's the more fun, less likely explanation. The computer brain chip thought control drones. So I played these clips a couple of years ago, which I don't have the clips right now. I was looking for them, but I do have an article. The clips were from an Arizona State University Future of War panel, because they have a Future of War department there. And there was a bunch of, at the time, these were high-ranking military officers that were discussing how the military was researching using brain-computer interfaces in soldiers on the battlefield that would enable them to control fleets of drones with their thoughts. I'll find that clip, and I'll play it soon. One of the examples they gave was a soldier backed into a corner surrounded by enemies. They're dead. Suddenly, they Jedi with their thoughts a swarm of drones over to take out all of their enemies. And this was like 3 or 4 years ago that I played these clips. And they were already experimenting with and trying to develop that. They even premised it with, we know that this brain-computer interface stuff is usually used to help people who are quadriplegic, who need help, stuff like that. But we're going to weaponize the hell out of it. It's basically what the premise of the whole thing was. And here's an article, the article from Arizona State, because this stuff is like really crazy when you hear it, but it's real. It's like real shit that they develop with taxpayer money, probably. Tinfoil Hat did a podcast with a drone technology professor that talked about the Gorgon stare, that thing. Let's see. Oh, that's interesting. Arizona State University from October of 2021. Where's the title of this? All right. The title of this article: Brain-computer interfaces or flamethrowers. The future of tech and security. Expert panel discusses the pros and cons of the latest gadgetry in war. 21st century longbow or the machine gun is the drone. Surveillance drones, predator drones, repair drones. The skies have taught a whole generation to move under top cover. How will technology affect security in the future? And I don't skip to the main part. Okay. Will brain-computer interfaces be useful? Did I put that on screen? Yeah. Will brain-computer interfaces be useful for the future of combat? ASU is working on directing drone swarms with the brain. ASU is working on directing drone swarms with the brain. That's what I was talking about, the combat soldiers. The type of control could be used to direct an exoskeleton to enhance performance, or some type of direct brain-to-brain communication between team members while clearing a building, for instance. Now, I remember them talking about that in the clips I played. The example was you're trying to sneak in to surround an enemy and you don't want to make noise. So instead of talking and shouting, you're speaking to each other through these brain-to-brain computer interfaces, the chips in the brain. You know, I would think Elon Musk could speak on some of this because, you know, he's big on the chip in the brain. There's no way he's not familiar with all this stuff too. A problem that I thought about, I think they might have even raised it during that discussion, is if everybody in a unit is sneaking in to get the enemy or whatever, either kidnap or detain the enemy, and everybody's using these brain-to-brain computer interfaces, how do you know whose thought is whose thought? How do I know that what transmits is something I thought or something that somebody else thought? And what if one of those people commits a war crime because of something they thought? Who gets blamed? Everybody? If it's collective thoughts together, then it might be collective punishment. Certainly wouldn't sign up for that. People considering the military in the future. All right, and then it goes on to talk more about all the disruptive technology stuff as they do. So, just to show you here, get rid of that guy. See Mayorkas and your weird Mr. Potato Head eyebrow that's way off-centered, way too high. Here is a guy. Now I don't know if this is. I'll just show you the video, and then it's very short. The video is titled. This is like 4 years ago. Controlling a drone with a brain-computer interface.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, there's a guy sitting there by a computer with a thing on his head, and and he's in the background, making it look like he's controlling the drone with his thoughts. I don't know if he really is. It could be a guy with a remote control behind the camera, for all we know. Just like we don't really know if it was who was the guy who people say was at Epstein Island, who just talked to a computer all the time, the smartest guy ever. What was that guy's name? You guys will hit it in the comments in a second. We don't know if that was ever really him talking or not. They just tell us. Who knows? But when my mom first got sick years ago, there were a lot of technologies that we experimented with to try and help her because she had lost control of her limbs and was trying to regain them through therapy. But there was a technology called Tobii, Tobii, that enabled her to control a computer with her eyes. Now, that's not a drone, but it was still amazing to me. I mean, it was like the first time I saw it, I was like, wow, this is crazy. With blinking and just eye movements and stuff, it could control everything on the computer screen. And this was probably 12 years ago when my mom first used that. I can't imagine how far that type of technology has developed. So there is stuff that is pretty impressive, whether or not this guy is actually doing it. Here's another one that they say is controlling drones with thoughts, but we'll see. Music's a little gay. It's hard to, like, you see this girl just sitting there. All right. Yeah. That's going to be the minimal technology that they have for all that. Stephen Hawking. Thank you, Nate. That's exactly who I was thinking about. Who knows if Stephen Hawking was ever actually saying anything at all? Who knows? So those are my theories. I doubt it's the experiment. It could be. I mean, it would be pretty powerful if it were people controlling those drones up in the sky with their thoughts, but that's the idea. That's what they have talked about for years, developing, that they've been researching and trying to create and testing. And this would be an environment to test it in. Imagine if your thought, you get a little ADD distracted. Things could come crashing down. You got to be super focused, man. Maybe bringing some of that Hitler amphetamines back for the people who are having to stay on this stuff. That's cognitively draining. It's probably not that. Owen Benjamin has a great video making fun of and explaining the absurdity of Stephen Hawking. Yeah. We just told things that we don't ever really question. I don't know what's true about Stephen Hawking, but if you start from a premise of let me examine this, and it's kind of like, how do we know what's really where the voice and all of it's coming? I don't know. So what do you guys think? You guys think that probably not thought control drones, but you guys think that I'm way off? Or do you think that I'm onto something and that this is an experiment testing the latest advancements in our cognitive electronic warfare technology, both on the ground from trying to detect different frequencies of drones, and both in the air trying to avoid being detected through misdirection and camouflage? Technology that we have been working on, classified, as stated in this DARPA video, for many, many years. I'd put $100 on that bet. They would never tell us if it were the case or not. You think it's just a big 4-H goof, says Nate? Maybe. It's definitely possible. The Majorca is saying to us, the electronic detection, we didn't corroborate anything that these idiot people saw with their own eyes. I mean, that almost lends to maybe it is a blue beam. Maybe it is a big holographic thing because it didn't get detected by their bullshit. It's not, but I don't know. I don't know what a Project Blue Beam would look like right now. I don't even know if you need a Project Blue Beam because everything is so confusing, is intentionally confusing. I think that's probably part of the psyop. Just keep people like, what the fuck is going on? All right, I'm going to do one more and get out of here. Get out of here. They aren't dangerous. They're looking for something dangerous. Yeah, today. That's what they say. But how do they know how to find something dangerous with all this technology that people can camouflage their drones? Countries can camouflage their drones. Well, they don't unless they are using the latest advancements in DARPA detection technology, which they definitely wouldn't tell us if they were testing until many, many years after the program was declassified. All right, last story. Actually, no, I got two more stories. Forgot about that. Real quick. So Trump, you guys saw this story. George Stephanopoulos and ABC apologized to Trump, and they're paying him $15 million to settle a defamation suit that Trump brought against ABC and Stephanopoulos. Little tiny Stephanopoulos is 3'2". He's an elf. He's actually a Christmas elf. You can put him right in your pocket, and he will lie to your crotch if you put him there, or to your breast if you put him in your shirt pocket. But he is, along with ABC, giving $15 million to Trump and $1 million for lawyers' fees in a settlement to not have to go to trial. Very quickly, they decided to do this. This is being celebrated as a good thing. It's not really a good thing, maybe a little bit, because the fact that ABC News settled this instead of it going to trial, it just enables them to continue defaming people. Like the whole thing, I played the clip of what Stephanopoulos said to Nancy Mace when it happened because it was the most clear-cut case of defamation that I've ever seen. And I said at the time, Trump should sue them. This is crazy. Because what he did, and he did it with, you could even see the intent in the way he was talking to her, is he said that Trump, he said this to Nancy Mace, was found liable for raping E. Jean Carroll. when the reality is that the jury in that civil trial found the opposite of that. They said that he did not. They found that he did not rape E. Jean Carroll. He said literally the opposite of it on ABC News very aggressively and I'm pretty sure multiple times. And Trump ends up suing them. I think he brought the case recently. They quickly settle. Had this gone to court and ABC News lost, then there would be a precedent set that would limit them legally. They'd be under the gun for millions and millions of dollars just about any time they ran a news story, as would other news networks, with the way that the routine reporting is to defame people. And even with Trump being a public figure, the standard is higher for defamation. But they exceed that standard many, many times. You don't want to do anything that infringes on free speech, but literally saying someone was found liable for rape when the exact opposite was true is defamation of character. And they basically, in my opinion, paid $15 million, which is going to be as part of a charitable contribution to a presidential foundation and museum for Trump or something in the future, or whatever. But they paid $15 million so that they could continue defaming people when they need to in the future. That's what that $15 million was for. And they got plenty of money, so that's not going to, that's not going to hurt them. That's why I'm not really excited about that story. I'm glad that they're having to pay for that, but that doesn't do anything to that. This is literally nothing to ABC News or Stephanopoulos. It's like fining a NBA player $10,000 for flipping off the crowd. All right, last story. Last story of the morning. Put this on screen here. All right, here we go. Guess I can end. Instagram, because it's no longer streaming to Instagram. All right. Smoking gun. Felony charge over dipping sauce dispute. Make that a little bit bigger for you guys. I thought this was a really interesting story here. The things that people get upset about. As you can see, the suspect here in this case, pictured here, has blueberry and strawberry cotton candy hair. Her hair is the exact color of blueberry and strawberry cotton candy. Not as sweet as her hair might lead you to believe, as this 31-year-old woman was arrested. What was her name? Her name is Mackenzie Keeling. 31-year-old Mackenzie Keeling was arrested this past Friday in Florida for what on the official court charge is strong arm robbery. And according to court records, Mackenzie she ordered some takeout. She went to go pick it up from, ironically enough, a restaurant called Raising Cane's, which is in Clearwater, Florida, only to discover after she had gotten her food and left that all of the sauces that she had requested, all 8 of them, were not in her to-go bag. They were missing. 8 packs of what's called Cane's sauce, to be exact, the devil's semen perhaps, were not in the bag when she specifically requested that 8 of them be there. So what she did was she called up the store and she expressed, what happened, that she didn't get her 8 packs of the devil's semen, Cane's sauce. And she went back to the store and she was talking to the manager, who she was still on the phone with when she got there. You know that this is someone who you really want to deal with when they call the store to say, hey, you forgot my sauces, and they're still talking to people as they walk in. Not just, hey, I forgot my sauce, I'll be there in a minute, but still complaining on the phone. And when she walked in, she met the manager, who the manager was the one on the phone with her. I'm sure after the phone being passed around to many people who didn't want to deal with her. The manager said to her, what did she say? Okay, the manager greeted the defendant, Cotton Candy Head here, when she showed up and asked her how she could help. And the cotton candy lady, she told her again about the sauces, which they had the sauces ready, and they gave her the sauces. They remedied the problem. But that was not enough. Because this chick that you see on screen here, who looks like you could buy her head at a county fair, demanded that she be given compensation. And this is not an unreasonable request, maybe Karen-like, but she demanded to be given compensation in the form of sauces to compensate for her wasted time and fuel to have to turn around and come back. Okay. What's the sauce equivalent in gas mileage in Florida? I don't know. That was her request. But the way she made that request was she started by asking the manager who had just given her the 8 sauces what her name was. You know, that's usually not going to be pleasant. You go, what's your name? It's what's your name, because the Karen is going to be reporting something or doing whatever, because this woman is irate. This woman is clearly irate that she didn't get her sauces, and she loves this sauce. Everybody, if you're in Florida, try cane sauce, because apparently it's worth committing strong-arm robbery for. And the manager refused to say what her name was, probably because she was afraid of the psychopath. And what then happened was this chick punched the manager, who wouldn't tell her name, after the manager gave her the 8 sauces. Punched her right in the thigh. Gave her a Charlie horse right in the thigh. You're not going to give me the gas equivalent of sauces to come back up? Punch that bitch right in the thigh. Tell me your name. Right? And after punching her in the thigh, the momentum of the other woman as she was falling back to the ground, this crafty bitch here grabbed on to the restaurant ID, lanyard, and key that were all attached together on the manager's belt loop and ripped them off, yanked them right off. I guess she was going to make like a beeline for the cane sauce vault that's clearly in the back of this restaurant, so she can then get the hell out of Dodge and flee to Mexico with, gallons of the devil semen. Now, I don't know what an arrest like this looks like, but I would like to see this incident, which was apparently on video. I would like to see the camera, maybe even the body cam of this. I want to know where the sauce is. Did it get confiscated? Is it in a police evidence room somewhere? Is there a bunch of cops just passed out somewhere near this restaurant with the devil's cane sauce smeared all over their body because they stole it, just like they smoke all the marijuana? They're sucking all that sauce down. And this bitch is going to be flying a drone over that police department pretty soon if that's the case. Cane sauce. For that, this chick got arrested and had a $2,500 bail to pay to get out of jail for going back to a restaurant, getting the 8 sauces she ordered, and then deciding to punch the manager in the leg and steal her key and lanyard. What's going on with this woman's day? What led to this moment is what I want to know. Is this normal behavior? Surely something like this happens and someone says, what's going on with you? We know that's not what you normally do, but I have a feeling, judging by the way this woman's cotton candy hair looks, that this is standard of behavior. I'll tell you this. Kane's restaurant ain't going to forget this bitch's sauce ever again. What's up, everyman? Clean Parker says, seems as though she needs to remove sugar and starch from her diet. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, she has a bit of an addiction there, it would seem. Like, who bails you out? Can you imagine being the person who You know, your one phone call is like, I got arrested. Why? I got in a fight. With who? I Charlie horsed the manager of Kane's restaurant and then stole her key. Why'd you do that? Well, I was trying to find the endless cane sauce vault that we all know's there, but they tell us isn't. It's almost like the guy searching for the basement of Ping Pong Pizza. At least, you know, that guy who made a plea deal and then we never heard from him again. She knew it was there, and she was going to find it, and she was using this as a reason. It's like, you did what? Is $2,500 for the sauce? What if it's just like mayonnaise? What if it's the easiest to make sauce ever, and you're like, all right, I'm going to get $2,500, you cotton candy-haired bitch, but I'm eating every single hair on your head. It looks delicious, quite frankly. I'm going to put some of this cane sauce all over your hair and have a little devil's semen cotton candy. I'd rather go to Chick-fil-A for my chicken craving. And Chick-fil-A is the fastest drive-through lines I've ever been through. Doesn't matter. The cars could be wrapped around the building, hanging outside in the middle of it could be like a 5-car pileup because the traffic is into the middle of the intersection. But it would still move very quickly, and you'd be in and out in like 7 minutes. And even if you think you won't be, you could park, go inside, you go right up to the line. Nobody does it like Chick-fil-A, right? But they hate Chick-fil-A. They hate Chick-fil-A. Even the gays know they should hate Chick-fil-A. That's what they say, but they love it. They can't resist it. It's Chick-fil-A to everybody is demon sauce or whatever this shit is to her, is what Chick-fil-A is to most people. What was that sandwich they had recently? What was it? Is it cheese? Well, it's like a unique sandwich they had that had like I can't remember what the kind of cheese it was, but it was freaking delicious. And then they took it away. They gave it to us for like a couple months, and they said, we're going to take it away. I used to love the chicken salad sandwiches that Chick-fil-A had, because they were different. They were like flat pressed, and they were warm. It was unlike any other chicken salad. I don't like chicken salad sandwiches anywhere else. Loved the ones from Chick-fil-A. Took them away from us. But they did publish the recipe for them on, I think, their Twitter, like a few years ago. I haven't made it, but, you know, I'm waiting to get the sauce from Cane's. Don't say In-N-Out. I'm hungry now. In-N-Out. Dude, has anybody ever tried BurgerFi? Is that a chain that's in a lot of places? I don't know if it is. I just tried it for the first time recently near where I am, and it was surprisingly delicious. I don't know if I was just hungry or it's actually really good. Yeah, I'd never heard of it either. Look up BurgerFi on your location. See if there's one near you. It just sounds like such a weird, especially, it sounds like such a weird chain restaurant that you would never expect to be any good. That actually blew my mind. Let's see if there's any more comments I didn't hit here. I don't trust anyone with blue and pink hair. Yeah, it's definitely some judgments that, you know, we judge everybody all the time. That's how people are, but that's a direction. That kind of usually when I think colored hair, I think, oh, Starbucks barista. They like a gender fluid Starbucks barista. But I didn't get that vibe from her. It was a little too cotton candy like. I don't know where I would place her. I mean, a circus, but other than that, I'm not exactly sure. Zombie Burger is good. I haven't tried that. Oh, you're in L.A., so I'm in Georgia. Yeah, they might not have it there. I don't know if there's... I haven't heard of Zombie Burger. Let me see if there's one nearby. You guys like... Not White Castle. You guys ever had White Castle? Zombie Burger. That does look pretty good. I don't think there's one nearby, though. All right. I've rambled enough, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I hope you guys are. What's up, Tony? You heard a young owner girl inherited through her dad In-N-Out Burger and made it against the rules for any employees to wear masks. I do remember that story. I do remember this. Isn't it funny now how the lawyer for Luigi is claiming that there's nothing out of you don't know that the person in the photos was my client. He was wearing a COVID mask. And the police are like, well, we found a box of COVID mask on him. And he's like, well, people still wear COVID mask. He's worried about COVID. I love that he's worried about COVID is going to be part of the defense. It comes back to bite him in the ass, this shit. Thank you. Don't get me wrong. I think that story's weird too. We'll talk about that another day. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out. Talk to you next time. Later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.